This is the transformation mask of the Indigenous Americas Unit from a people called the Kwak Waka Wak tribal group from the Pacific Northwest. I think British Columbia, Vancouver Islands, that area. So we are in unit number 5, taking a look at a really interesting mask that would need to be seen during a ceremonial presentation where the mask would open and close and be combined with dance and music and costume. So let's get into what kind of ceremony you would find this in, talk a little bit about the people as we go on. Let's check that out. So this is an image of the ceremony that the Kwakwaka'wakw people would perform. It's called a potlatch ceremony. And if you think of this particular tribal group of indigenous people, they are divided. There are probably about 20 plus different groups within this particular indigenous people. Excuse me. And they were divided into groups who had a common ancestor. And they have a very strict and clear social hierarchy where you have slaves being at the lowest part of that, the so-called aristocracy or the most elite at the top. And then you have people in between those two extremes. And at the potlatch ceremony, which would be held in a particular big house, you would have people gather to distribute property and gifts to others within your group. And this would establish your social standing. And you would have a certain rank where you get to wear the mask and perform the ceremony, and you would give gifts to the people in attendance, and the gift would show your status, and the gift you give would determine the status of the recipient as well. And then you would expect at your recipients' potlatch ceremonies to get gifts back in return. So this is a ceremony that the Kwakwaka'wakw group did for years and years until it was banned in around 1885 by Christians who basically thought it was immoral. There was even the accusations of cannibalism going on. And it was banned until about 1950. And in that time period, masks were confiscated, they were destroyed. Europeans started to collect these masks. But after 1950s, it was brought back. And so even today in this area, there are examples and ceremonial potlatches still occurring today. So this is definitely an event that still happens and masks still worn. So a very modern event now as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. Here's an example of our College Board mask. This is the mask that is open. And when it is closed, let me see if I have a picture of that. There on the left, you can see it's closed. Here you have it open. There are 4 clans in the Kwakwaka'wakw groups. There's the killer whale, the eagle, the raven, and the wolf. And here you're looking at more of a bird called the thunderbird. And when it's closed, you have the animal form. That's typical in your transformation masks. And when it's open, you usually see a human-like mask, which would represent the ancestors. So here, a thunderbird is a mythical ancestor of these people. And it would cause thunder to crash when the wings would move and the lightning would come out of its eyes. And then it would turn into human form here and represent an ancestor. And then all of these masks, and you'll see some examples in just a second, were done in a style called the form line style. And those characteristics of the form line style would be bilateral symmetry, which you definitely see. You cut this mask in half and the two halves are the same, just mirror shapes of each other. ovoid or oval shapes, which you see definitely in here, like the eye shapes here. You have like an oval or ovoid shape. Undulating lines and S, like these curving lines, and U shapes. And they're very bold in their colors and these bold lines and bold shapes that you'll see. And it's, again, called the form line style. Color palettes typically blue, black, or like a blue, green, and black and red. Materials definitely were wood, paint. There was string, which you can see in this whale mask here, that the dancer would pull on the strings and the mask would open and close. Here, I mean, these masks are just really spectacular, and you can imagine them being performed, by the wearer. To hear music going and dancing happening and costumes out of red cedar wood. And the mask was opening and closing as the performer was moving and the music would rise. It would be a pretty spectacular event. And then one of the cool things, and this is just an aside, it means nothing that you would have to write about, but many find in their documents that support this that the Seattle Seahawks logo and of the football team was based upon the transformation mask that you can see. And that's the one actually that or similar to the one we're studying. So that's a pretty cool use of and a tribute to this area and north of this area, Pacific Northwest, their past of First Nation groups, and also still, the people who are still there today practicing the potlatch and celebrating this culture is pretty cool. So that is the transformation mask again. Indigenous America's art from the British Columbia area of the Pacific Northwest, a mask that is definitely associated with status and ceremonial practices, and again, still used to this day.